الأعراب أشد كفرا ونفاقا وأجدر ألا يعلموا حدود ما أنزل الله على رسوله والله عليم حكيم.
Now they want to be all hypocritical because there's an African American or so-called black president, or because it's Obama, all of them now being all hypocritical. You know, that's why Obama in what was it, Chile, or where he was in South America, what did he say? He said, it's been U.S. policy. You know, this is U.S. policy. In other words, it's the written and stated policy. So in a sense, the Obama administration is doing exactly what he laid out, or he's tried to articulate and describe in other statements and in his book and his general philosophy, is that, you know, from a legal perspective, if a government has a particular policy, right, and the policy was for democracy, was against terrorists and against dictators, and Gadhafi is both known on the international stage and really by Africans, but a lot of Africans have been silenced by the buyout. A lot of them have been bought out, you understand, by that oil money. But Gadhafi hasn't even used the oil money for many of his own Arab people because they know his hypocrisy. They know his disbelief. And part of his disbelief is interesting, that he had attacked, I think he attacked a mosque, a couple of mosques. He attacked and had his troops open fire. And that's interesting because in other parts of the Arab world, in other parts of the Arab world, you wouldn't even find that sort of a thing happening. You understand? You would rarely, it has to really go to some extreme level, like there's shots being fired in or out of a mosque. And even then, they're not just going to, you know, they're not just going to just shoot at worshipers. But Gadhafi did this a week or two ago. He did this. So he showed what the Quran, what Surah 9, Bara, the ultimatum says.
الأعراب أشد كفرا ونفاقا وأجدر ألا يعلموا حدود ما أنزل الله على رسوله والله عليم حكيم.
That the Arab, or the desert Arabs, the Gadhafi type Arabs, are the worst. They're the worst in disbelief and hypocrisy. I mean, look at the hypocrisy. He says ceasefire, but his troops are still. He's saying he's going to withdraw, but they moved into towns so that, you know, they figure they could hide out there, so they won't be hit in towns using the cover of civilians. I mean, what kind of madness is that? I mean, if there's no other definition of terrorism, I mean, look at those terrorized people now who are forced to have Gadhafi's loyalists, who are not even part of the Libyan official real army, but a lot of them are like mercenaries from all over, you could say Africa, like the worst gunmen from Africa and Ethiopia too, and some parts of like the Middle East. He hires from the oil money, and majority of the oil goes to Europe and Italy in particular. You know what I mean? Italy, Berlusconi, bunga, Italy in particular. So you're seeing this hypocrisy. I mean, this interesting, I mean, not that this is anything new to us, but it's a very interesting form of the hypocrisy where they're saying that, you know, where even black folks over here are so ignorant of the real Africa situation. The first thing they would do is they see America involved in Africa, and the first thing they do is they assume the worst. Even though a lot of their family members are in the United States military, you understand, and they don't have really a problem with their family members, men and women, so forth and so on, and probably grandparents and others were in the army or in the military or the Marines or the Air Force or the Navy or wherever. But now, even many of their children are probably in the United States. But if the United States Army goes to Africa, oh, something is automatically wrong, even with a president like Obama, you understand, which they supported, you understand, in the first place. So this hypocrisy is a very interesting, the hypocrisy the hypocrisy of we can't really say it's a racial thing. It hasn't really, it's not overtly a racial thing, you understand, but covertly we can basically see it's a hypocrisy in the policy. You understand? Because there's a policy against Gadhafi. You understand? Straight up. You understand? And the patriots, the media already call them rebels instead of calling them what they are. They're the red, black, and green Libyan patriots. The red, black, and green Libyan patriots. So the Obama administration and the United Nations and the coalition's airstrikes, their PURIM, I call it the PURIM, the PURIM airstrikes, because this is the link, this is the major links, and some people still don't want to really agree with us or recognize the evidence and debate at least the evidence and the proof, but Obama's Hebrew connection is overt and obvious, and his loyalty to the political form of liberation theology is also striking as well as clear. And the members of his administration, like we'll call her UN Ambassador Susan, quote, Esther, and quote, Rice, how she was able to push through this resolution and get that sort of agreement from the world body, even many of those who are in bed with Gadhafi, but they recognize really what's at stake. They recognize that the examples we need to think about are Rwanda. The examples that we need to think about is Darfur. And the fact that many of us as African Americans are so entrenched within this American society at the present moment, and we have an opportunity with African American president, especially one who has openly avowed such pro-African and African American liberation theology is just one of many that we can point to, but they come into conflict with this you could say with the old-time Anglo-American establishment, which like many things in Obama, recognize that Obama is good for American foreign policy, being an African American, being who he is and being articulate. But now that he has taken his administration, that is, has taken such decisive steps, and the fact that these steps also coincide, notice they coincide with a Jewish, a Hebrew holiday, Purim, which commemorates the victory over the Black Jews of Persia, you understand, who a madman named Haman wanted to exterminate as well. And this reminds us of the same madman that Gadhafi is Libya's Haman, and the Benghazi patriots, the red, black, and green patriots, we can consider them similar to the Black Jews of Persia, because that flag, that red, black, and green flag, Obama's support for the red, black, and green flag patriots of Libya is admirable. It's also very much in tune with the policies. In other words, it's making these words and agreements actually mean something. And even Kedemawi Haile Selassie, our godfather, Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia, the King of Kings, has said that the use of force in the settlement of disputes is also a cornerstone principle. You understand, after resolutions have been passed, no fly zones, no bombing of civilians, so forth and so on, it's clear that Gadhafi did not keep to this, nor that he would, because the Araboch are the worst in disbelief and hypocrisy, and most to ignore the laws of Allah. So if they ignore the laws of Allah in Gadhafi's attack of mosque and his own people, you understand, who basically say enough is enough. And what does he do? If they're not armed and willing to fight and defend themselves, they get killed. They get massacred. You understand? So to avert another Rwanda or Darfur situation and being in the position to do so, so far, based because this is an active situation and it's fluid. There can be changes, but at this particular juncture of Obama and his administration's actions, many of us, as African Americans on one level, as Ethiopian Hebrews, as Rastafari, we should support the president in his present actions. And so far, the actions that the United States government and the allies, the UN coalition has taken, should not be misconstrued as many Iraq war protesters. We call them the Iraq war protesters that now want to get out there and try to confuse people as though this is another Iraq situation. This is far different than the Iraq situation, or Obama's administration also far different in the way it prosecutes these cases. Is much different than the Bush administration. So that should be very clear. We should be very clear about this, and we should make no mistake about this particular matter. For our part, so far, we support the Obama administration's action, and in response, we ask, will he be faithful to the teachings of His Imperial Majesty? And so far, his administration has shown remarkable fidelity to the teachings of His Imperial Majesty, and it's about time that we recognize this. We recognize what time we're living, and we do due diligence. We get all the intelligence we need about these particular cases and not be so blindsided to support someone who doesn't support us, such as Gadhafi or Gadhafi. Gadhafi is not a Pan-African hero. He has not liberated Africa. He's bought off a lot of Africans and thrown around a lot of oil money to buy their allegiance and stuff like that. But he's a traitor to the cause of African unity, and sought to subvert the government of His Imperial Majesty. So there's really no real love lost for such action of Gadhafi in the past against His Imperial Majesty, against the Organization of African Unity, until him and his types could come to the position they have in the AU, to have so many of the AU countries really divided about what they should do in a clear and obvious situation of human rights violations. So more to come. Y'all willing, stay tuned. Salam.
الأعراب أشد كفرا ونفاقا وأجدر ألا يعلموا حدود ما أنزل الله على رسوله والله عليم حكيم.